Hello and welcome back on the Camnode series. Today, nothing about IBP, let's focus on S4 Hana production planning, and in particular, the predictive MRP. A bit of background, last week I've written an article on this predictive MRP, and considering the quite interest that you developed in LinkedIn, so I decided to do a special video on the predictive MRP to give you practical example, visible example of what has been written last week. Let's see that right away in this short video. When it comes to planning proposition in SAP software, there is a grade of solutions. Either from the central ERP standpoint, which can be like shown here, MRP, MPS, ERP, and possibly long-term planning and SNOP. And by the way, predictive MRP. Just to mention that the option one, it's still a very operational option when you run the MRP, okay, using the capabilities of MRP being focused on MPS product or regular MRP products. And on the side of it, you can have some capacity analysis, CRP analysis. Just for your information, in this first option, there is no simulation or very, very little simulation capabilities. Therefore, it's really made for operational and ready to perform your replenishment in the company. Then option two, it's to run solutions which have been designed in the past to help the planners to assess some option. And it was LTP, long-term planning, or possibly the SNOP to support your sales and operation planning, and even to flexible planning. Honestly, these three options are completely outdated as of 2025 as we are. They are still available in S4, but honestly, the look and feel is very old. And recently, SAP introduced Predictive MRP. In the Predictive MRP, the idea is to provide you a grade of simulation capabilities without interacting with the operational planning yet, so that you can really assess a number of options before you validate them. Then second kind of solutions, which is running an advanced planning like production planning and detailed scheduling, PPDS, which currently sits in S4 sidecar, DSC, or directly in APO for the one of you running still APO. And for the most lucky of you, if you run already IBP, either by means of time series supply or order-based planning, then you are definitely already well served in terms of simulation and scenario planning capabilities, even optimization scenario. Let's now focus on the predictive MRP proposition from SAP in S4. Let me repeat, in S4 production planning and or production planning for process industry, PP or PPPI. First, predictive MRP is not dedicated to any type of production. So if you're running shop floor, process, repetitive or whatever Kanban, why not running also the predictive MRP on the side of it to help you taking decision. The predictive MRP is made for you to assess different situations starting from the demand, the plan independent requirement, the PIRs, starting from the PIRs, and then asking the system via an MRP real-time calculation to give you the impact on the capacity, on the sourcing, on the component requirement. And to make this working, Predictive MRP use the regular MRP master data. In other words, product master, resource or work center master, production version, transportation lane by means of special procurement key, plan purchase info record, and so on and so forth. So if you have a good setup of master data, you are a good candidate to run an easy predictive MRP and get the result out of it. Operating predictive MRP is pretty simple. 3 steps. The first one, you create your technical landscape, meaning that you will select the products, whatever resource and production and work centers that you wish to introduce into your simulation, and press the button to generate the technical landscape. You can have 1 to many simulations at the same time, not necessarily only one. Okay. Once you have created that, then you go and use the simulation scenario. So that's the option 2 here. You will start from a starting point with your demand, which you have retrieved from the operational side. Say, for instance, plan independent requirement version 00. And from that, you will take some decisions, augment some quantity, reduce some quantity of different products, move the quantities. And at the same time, the systems, anytime you do a change, recalculate the plan, the product, the replenishment plan, and the capacity plan out of these different updates that you can do. And then option 3, when you are finished with your simulation and possibly you wish to convert the simulation into proper action, so-called, you will have to publish your result. There is 3 kinds of publications. Either you publish the new demand plan, the PIR plan, or you publish your capacity change, or you publish your change in sourcing. And that's it. So running predictive MRP is easy. And now it's time to go into the system. Let's now dig into predictive MRP. So first of all, what you need to do, of course, is to maintain some PIR so that the predictive MRP has anything to grind, of course. Then, technically speaking, you need to create your simulation envelope, and that's what you do in this one. Fairly easy. So it's a job list. You create a job, and then out of the job, you can decide which way you want to create your envelope. 3 ways to do that. Let me use the top level material option. Okay. Then you schedule it, and before you even run it, then you define the parameters of your selection. In my case, what I only want is opening stock to be the current opening stock, and then any active plan independent requirement is considered, but I could also ignore some, introduce inactive, and so on, and even on the master data selection, decide further on elements. Then once it's finished, you schedule it. The job is currently in process. I've already run that twice successfully before. And then it's now finished. So you see the generation of the context is fairly quick. And now it's time to use the simulation. For that, then I go to the second applications, which is process my simulation. Just before I go in, notice here that you can also define flexible constraint within your different simulation, meaning I wish to have a maximum quantity of against group of product and so on. So very well, fairly well done. Now let's use our simulation scenario. In our simulation, so you see here, I've got currently 2 scenarios, the one I've just created, plus one, which I had already created before. Okay, let me go into this one. So you have basically 3 views, the view on demand, so-called the demand plan simulation. You have the view on the capacity and the component, and the last view on issue. From the demand view, you see the current demand view, which is considered in predictive MRP, fairly easy, and also flagged in color, where there is issue currently raised by the system because of the situation. And here we'll see that it is currently linked to capacity issue. Okay. Then we have the capacity view. The capacity view out of the work center selected by my top product, used by my top product. Currently, these 4 work centers. I've got some periods where it's not going that well because my demand is exceeding my capacity, and therefore I've got issues. And for that, you can even further have details. So if you click one of the cells, so for instance, in week 006, remaining capacity minus 47 hours, meaning you're currently lacking capacity to produce what is needed, which creates issue on the production of those products here. So see, this is the so-called inspector. If you fly from one to another cells, then the inspector refresh the data. Or you could also disregard capacity issue, meaning that, okay, this resource is managed in infinite capacity. Please, predictive MRP, don't tell me about this capacity. I don't mind. Okay. Third view is the component view. The component view is out of my product which I selected, TF137. I've got components which are currently selected by the system. due to my bill of material, my regular MRP master data. And out of my demand, which is 50, 250, 212, and so on, then the component quantities have been calculated and possibly generates problems with component availability. And I may also have issue list. The issue list is a summary of all issues out of my current scenario. And currently I've got three elements of focus on the capacity overload, which I can disregard, yes or not. And if they get disregarded, then therefore they are not considered anymore as issue. Okay, and that's one of the way to sort my different issues. We see here we've currently non-disregarded issue, and from this one I can also fly to the multi-level material simulation, which is a good way also to assess some of the issue and the consequence from a demand. We see that at the top, from a demand perspective of 250. Then I see the consequence on the top product, which is hosting the demand, and then the consequence on the component as well. So very interesting displays. Okay, what else do we have? We have the simulation summary, which at any point you can read through. Here it's a very nice presentation of my scenario, and out of my scenario, what change in demand has been done, TT. I have my change in capacity, so anything I change since the beginning of my simulation. The pre-production of early procurement, so in case I've anticipated production, change of source of supply, unresolved issue, meaning the left issue which I still need to fix, okay, and disregarded capacity issue where I have decided that for such a product and such resource, I don't want to consider those issues. Here you see that you can also read out the change track. In other words, what did I change in my scenario in terms of demand, capacity, and so on? And I can see here that I changed my capacity issue or disregarded them, and I can even come back on a change and go back to reconsider those different changes. So inspector and change tracking, very interesting, very relevant displays to play with your scenario. Now we are reaching the end of this presentation, so let's see what I can do. I'm exiting that and going back to my process simulation. And say, for instance, now I want to validate a scenario. For that, I go to the top list of the scenario available, and you see here I can release. So release meaning put into action the different elements I have taken into this scenario. And for that, I can decide whether I want to adopt the change of demand, adopt the change of capacity, or the change of sourcing. And that's by means of these mini screens that I will do that and release in the end my simulation into action, into operative model. This is it. We are finished with the predictive MRP presentation. I hope you appreciated it. If so, don't forget a thumb up or even a subscription. Makes my day anyway. In the next episode, we will keep on discovering IBP and even S4 and PPDS, whatever. So think of commenting and exchanging all together. That's how we progress all together. Bye now.